readers. We have been talking about what readers are. We've talked about how readers are word solvers. They take the time to use strategies to solve words that they don't know in books. Readers are also meaning detectives. They are always thinking about what they are reading, trying to figure it out. They know that that's the whole point of reading. So they ask questions and answer those questions as they're reading so that they're really understanding what's going on, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Readers are also actors and actresses. If they're reading fiction, they make their voices sound like characters in the story. And if they're reading nonfiction, they're reading like a teacher, teaching their students about the topic. Finally, readers are writers and researchers. They read to do something with that. Today, we're going to talk all about how readers are writers and researchers. Reading is fun and wonderful and fabulous for so many reasons. But one of the great things about reading is it doesn't just end with reading. Just the other day, when I was reading my Acorns Everywhere book, which is a fiction book, I can tell because this squirrel is talking, and I know that squirrels don't speak English in real life. They have their own squirrel language. I got the idea while I was reading this fiction story to write another book about this squirrel. Readers are writers and researchers, and they're writers because they get ideas from stories for their own writing. So while I was reading my fiction book, I had an idea about, I want to write another story about this squirrel because I want to write about him in the winter and how he uses all of the acorns that he collected. So I grabbed my writing journal and I wrote the date. I made sure not to skip any pages, but to go right to the next spot that I'm at. October 4th, 2019. All right. So let's see, in my story, I want to say once upon a time. So you see, readers are writers and researchers because they get ideas from stories to write their own stories. You might be thinking, what if I get an idea for a story while I'm reading a book? Can I get my reading notebook, write the date, and just start writing my story? Of course you can. That is what your reading notebook is for, is to do that great thinking, that great writing and researching. In addition to being writers, readers are also researchers. So sometimes you're reading a book and instead of getting an idea for a story, you're just learning great information that you want to record and remember. That happened to me when I was reading my manatees book, my nonfiction book. Let me show you. So I was reading my manatee book and I was learning about manatee calves, which are what baby manatees are called. And the book was saying that the calves have to stay with their mamas for 2 years so that the mama can teach the baby how to be a manatee and to live on their own. That was a really interesting fact for me. And as a researcher, as someone who collects information and remembers it, that's something I want to write down to remember. So I opened up my reading notebook. This is where my story was. So I'm going to go to the very next spot. And every time I write in my notebook, I write the date. So I'm going to write the date, 2019. And I'm going to write facts from, it's called manatees. So facts from manatees. I'm going to draw a line under it so that I know all of that information that I'm recording is from that book. And then I'm going to draw a little bullet point and I'm going to put calves are baby manatees because that's one fact I want to remember. Calves must stay with mamas for 2 years. Do you notice that I didn't start with a capital or end with a period? That's because I'm just taking research notes. And when you take research notes, they're not real sentences. You don't have to start with a capital and end with a period. I'm just making bullet points to record the facts that I want to remember. Readers, remember that readers are writers and researchers. They get ideas from stories for their own writing, and they also record information they want to remember, just like a researcher. So readers, remember that readers are writers and researchers. Today, while you are reading your fiction, if you get an idea for a story, like readers often do, grab your reading notebook. Remember to go to the very next spot. Don't skip pages. And always write the date. Don't forget that comma after the numbers. Or if you're reading a nonfiction book, and as a researcher, you want to collect some information to remember it, grab your notebook. Remember not to skip pages and always start with the date. You can put the title of the book with a line under it and then take your notes with bullet points. Happy reading!